Welcome to Light Inside Me. In today's video, we're continuing our self-development series, picking up right where we left off in the previous episodes. If you're new here or happen to miss the last one, don't worry, you can find all the episodes in the playlist that will appear at the end of this video. These lessons aren't just bits of educational content, they're a holistic, daily approach to life. So, if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss what's coming next. And if you're enjoying this series, show some love by liking the video and dropping a keep it up in the comments below. Life is much like an elaborate banquet where every moment offers a unique flavor, a texture, an aroma of its own. Just as a gourmet meal demands care in choosing ingredients, preparation, and presentation, living a fulfilling life requires mindfulness, balance, and variety. But this metaphor isn't just about enjoying fleeting pleasures, it's about embracing the richness of existence. Think of life's moments the way you'd savor each bite of a well-prepared dish. In this grand feast, the menu is vast: love, joy, pain, sorrow, success, failure, and everything in between. How we choose, experience, and appreciate these dishes determines the depth of our satisfaction and personal growth. Epictetus, the ancient philosopher, believed that while pleasure is important, moderation is essential. Practicing selective indulgence helps us avoid what we might call a life coma, that numb, overwhelmed state caused by overconsumption or imbalance. To truly savor life, we must slow down and stay present. As the poet Rumi wrote, "Let the beauty of what you love be what you do." This is about finding joy in the simple things, appreciating the moment, and living fully right here, right now. Mindfulness, like mindful eating, means paying close attention not just to the outer world, but to our thoughts and emotions too. It's about being fully engaged in the present moment. Variety, much like the mix of flavors in a great meal, enriches life. Embracing different cultures, trying new things, and stepping beyond our comfort zones expands our perspective. As the old saying goes, variety is the spice of life. Moderation is just as critical. Overindulging, whether it's in food, pleasure, work, or even leisure, can lead to burnout or dissatisfaction. Finding a rhythm and balance that works for us allows us to enjoy life's offerings without the side effects. And finally, sharing what we experience, just like sharing a good meal, enhances the joy. It builds connection. As Aristotle said, man is by nature a social animal. Fulfillment often grows through shared meaning, shared purpose, and shared moments. Let's look at a few real-world examples. The adventurous traveler. They don't just pass through places, they immerse themselves tasting the food, learning the language, connecting with locals. Every journey is a feast of discovery. The passionate artist. They don't create just for fame or money, but for the joy of self-expression, for the thrill of creating, exploring, and sharing their vision with others. The lifelong learner. They don't stop learning after graduation. Every day is an opportunity to grow, to evolve. They see life as a continuous journey of expansion of the mind and the soul. The bottom line: life is a banquet, but it's up to us to make it a feast. By practicing mindful living, embracing variety, respecting moderation, and sharing our journey with others, we can savor the full richness of life. As Epictetus put it, the wealth required by nature is limited and easy to acquire. The wealth required by vain ideals is endless. Lesson 1. The Banquet of Life. Your philosophical guide to feasting without the food coma. Life, in many ways, is a feast, a long, unfolding banquet laid before us, rich, varied, unpredictable. Each day brings its own serving, a touch of joy here, a spoonful of grief there, a plate of challenge, a sip of wonder. And just like at a grand table, we have choices: what to taste, what to savor, what to pass on. But here's the thing, most of us aren't really feasting. We're rushing, gorging, numbing, consuming experiences, people, pleasures, not because we're truly hungry, but because we've forgotten how to pause and truly taste. We move from moment to moment like we're at an all-you-can-eat buffet, piling everything onto our plates, fearing we'll miss out on something if we don't keep reaching. And in the end, we're bloated, tired, overstimulated, not fulfilled. The Stoics weren't against pleasure, far from it. But they believed that a meaningful life isn't about how much you consume. It's about how you consume. Epictetus, often misunderstood as a hedonist, said that pleasure is the beginning and end of the blessed life, but only when guided by moderation and wisdom. It's not about eating every course, it's about savoring the right ones. So what does it mean to truly feast on life? It means being present with the flavor of each moment, not rushing to the next. It means learning to appreciate the bitter as much as the sweet, because both are part of the full experience. It means not stuffing ourselves with distractions and noise, but sitting quietly with the people, places, and memories that actually nourish us. It's also about embracing variety. A life of repetition, same meals, same thoughts, same routines dulls the spirit. Like a chef exploring new spices, we need to try new things, travel, read, connect, create, explore. As the saying goes, variety is the spice of life, not for novelty's sake, but because it reminds us of how wide and mysterious this human experience really is. And above all, it means practicing moderation. Because even joy, when consumed without care, can become noise. Even love, when clung to too tightly, can suffocate. A fulfilling life isn't one where we say yes to everything. It's one where we know when to stop, when to say enough, when to walk away from the table with gratitude instead of regret. And then, there's the final ingredient: sharing. No feast is complete if eaten alone. The most meaningful moments in life are the ones we share, the stories told, the laughter exchanged, the quiet companionship. As Aristotle put it, man is by nature a social animal. We are wired for connection, and just like a home-cooked meal tastes better when shared with someone you love, life becomes deeper when lived with others in mind. So if life is a banquet, what kind of guest do you want to be? The one who rushes from dish to dish, never tasting a thing? The one who hoards everything on their plate, afraid there won't be enough? Or the one who savors, who chooses mindfully, who passes dishes around and stays present for the entire experience? That's the art. That's the practice. To live fully but not frantically, to taste deeply but not greedily, to enjoy the banquet without falling into the food coma. Lesson 2. The grand parade of desire, your brain's craving carnival, and how to manage the mayhem. All right, folks, grab a front row seat because we're about to witness something that plays out in all of us. Every single day, the grand parade of desire. Now, I'm not talking about some festive celebration with balloons and confetti. This isn't the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade. I'm talking about the endless procession of cravings that march through our minds one after another, flashing signs that say, feed me, click this, buy that, eat this, you need more. It's noisy, it's constant, and if we're not paying attention, it can run the whole show. In the age of abundance and instant gratification, it's never been easier to give in. Sugar, likes, scrolling, spending the buffet is endless. And most of us are grazing without even realizing it. We reach for snacks when we're bored, refresh social media out of habit, and chase approval like it's air. But here's what's really happening. Every one of those cravings is lit up by dopamine, that little burst of pleasure and anticipation we feel when something promises reward. Our brain gives us a quick chemical high, not from getting the thing, but from expecting it. The catch is, the more we indulge, the more our brains adapt, and the less satisfying those pleasures become. So we chase harder, consume more, and feel emptier. What started as a harmless treat becomes a cycle: get, want more, feel worse. And if we don't slow down and notice, that cycle becomes our default setting. But awareness changes everything. When we begin to recognize the pattern, when we see the parade for what it is, we can start to step back and ask different questions. Instead of just reacting, we begin to observe, why do I want this right now? What am I feeling underneath the craving? Is this really going to give me what I think it will? It's not about denying yourself every pleasure. It's about waking up from the automatic trance of consumption. It's about learning to pause, to breathe, to wait. And in that space, something powerful happens. We realize we don't have to obey every impulse. We can choose what to give our energy to. We can stop chasing the quick hit and start building something deeper. Sometimes it's as simple as swapping one choice for another. Instead of mindless scrolling, we take a walk. Instead of buying something new to feel better, we talk to someone we love. Instead of eating to distract, we sit with the discomfort and listen to what it's trying to say. Over time, these small shifts begin to add up. We stop feeding the craving and start nourishing the need underneath it. And perhaps the most radical shift of all is learning to want less. We spend so much of life in the pursuit of more things, more attention, more stimulation, thinking that somehow that next thing will finally satisfy the hunger. But true peace doesn't come from having everything. It comes from realizing that you already have enough. As Epictetus said, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. You don't need to shut down the parade, but you don't have to march with it either. You can sit on the sidewalk, watch it go by, and smile knowing that not every float is meant for you. Because in the end, desire is just a part of life. It's not wrong. It's not shameful. It's human. But it doesn't have to lead. And the more we practice awareness, patience, and presence, the more we step out of the craving spiral and into a life that actually feels like ours. As Aristotle reminded us, the ultimate value of life depends upon awareness and the power of contemplation, not mere survival. Lesson 4. What's better left? Unsaid, your guide to taming your TMI monster. Let's have a real conversation, not the kind that fills a room with noise, but the kind that opens space for thought. Because sometimes, what you don't say speaks louder than anything you could. We live in an age where silence feels like an empty space we're supposed to fill. There's pressure online and off to be constantly sharing, expressing, reacting. We document our breakfasts, our breakups, our political opinions, and somewhere along the way, we've come to believe that every thought is worth voicing, every emotion deserves a post, and that transparency means truth. But not everything needs to be said. Not everything should be. The ancient philosophers knew this. Socrates, for one, spoke rarely, but when he did, his words echoed through centuries. He believed that a strong mind spoke of ideas, while the weaker mind gossiped about people, not out of moral superiority, but because ideas elevate and gossip erodes. We tend to underestimate the weight of our words. A careless sentence can linger longer than we ever intended. A moment of venting, of oversharing, of giving into impulse can quietly unravel a relationship, bruise a heart, or paint us in a way we later regret. sometimes. It's not about censorship, it's about discernment. We're not talking about hiding who you are or walking on eggshells when we're talking about learning when not to speak. About asking yourself, is this necessary? Is it kind? Is it helpful or just self-serving? These questions take a second to ask but can spare you hours, even years of damage. And here's the truth. Silence isn't emptiness, it's presence. It holds space for thought. It creates room for others. It allows emotions to settle before we act on them. There's strength in choosing not to respond. Power in holding back just enough to protect your own peace and the peace of others. That doesn't make you fake. It makes you wise. We've all felt the sting of words spoken too soon. We've all regretted a post we couldn't delete fast enough. We've all overshared and felt the silence afterward, not the peaceful kind, but the awkward aftermath. So maybe next time, we don't fill the silence. Maybe we breathe into it. Let it teach us something. Let it pass through us like wind through trees, quiet, honest, and necessary. Because silence, when used with care, isn't absence. It's presence, refined. As Confucius said, silence is a true friend who never betrays. Lesson 6. The real source of harm. What's really hurting you ain't what you think. Let's get honest about something most of us wrestle with more than we care to admit: harm. Not the kind that comes from bumping your shin on a coffee table or getting a paper cut. I'm talking about the deeper kind, the emotional blows, the invisible bruises, the heavy mental fog that lingers long after a harsh word, a betrayal, or a failure. When something hurts us, our instinct is almost always to look outside ourselves. It's their fault, the person who cut us off, the partner who walked away, the boss who didn't appreciate us, the comment that stung, the world that won't seem to give us a break. It's easy to believe that the pain lives out there, in events, in people, in the chaos beyond our control. But here's where the Stoics hit us with a truth bomb, and it's one that changes everything, if we're willing to really sit with it. The real source of harm isn't the event. It's not the thing that happened. It's the story we attach to it. It's not the breakup that breaks you, it's the inner monologue that follows. I'll never be enough. This always happens to me. I'm unlovable. It's not the criticism that crushes you, it's the record your mind starts spinning in response. And that record, it's been played before. Over and over, the same tired chorus of self-doubt, fear, and resentment, and we've danced to it without even noticing. Epictetus said, "People are not disturbed by things, but by the views they take of them." And that's the key. It's not the external blow that knocks us down. It's the inner narrative that keeps us there. Our minds are like jukeboxes, full of well-worn records, beliefs, assumptions, interpretations, and when something goes wrong, the jukebox plays on instinct. But the powerful, liberating truth is this: you can change the track. You can pause not to suppress your emotion, but to see it. You can notice the interpretation rising and question it. Is this the only way to view this? Is this pain a sentence or a signal? We don't always choose what happens to us, but we always choose what it means. We choose the frame, and that frame shapes our entire experience. You lost the job. Maybe that's not the end. Maybe it's the space you needed to finally do what matters. Someone betrayed your trust. That's painful. Yes, but maybe it's teaching you to strengthen your boundaries, not your walls. Got torn down by someone's words. Maybe that's not a sign to shrink. Maybe it's an invitation to deepen your craft, your voice, your sense of self. Because the world will continue to be chaotic. People will continue to act unfairly. But life won't stop throwing curveballs. But suffering, the lingering, soul-sapping kind, that's not a given. That's a choice, often unconscious, but a choice nonetheless. And the moment you realize that, you take your power back. You stop giving the outside world the keys to your inner world. You stop letting random events dictate your worth, your joy, your peace. You stop being a victim of what happens and start becoming a creator of how you live through it. That doesn't mean pretending everything is fine when it's not. It means learning to hold pain without becoming it, to feel fully without being consumed, to face difficulty with clarity, not collapse. Because the real harm isn't the hit, it's the echo we let it create in our minds. And the moment we learn to change the record is the moment we stop dancing to someone else's song. Lesson 7. Timeless Wisdom Cheat Codes for Life, Ancient Philosophers Edition. Let's talk about wisdom. Not the kind you gain just from getting older or living through a few storms, but the kind that transcends time. The kind whispered through centuries, passed hand to hand like a sacred flame. Ancient wisdom. The kind we often overlook in a world obsessed with novelty and speed. You see, long before smartphones and self-help podcasts, there were thinkers, real thinkers, sitting in public squares, on marble steps, or walking alone at dawn, asking the questions we're still asking now. What does it mean to live well? Why do we suffer? How do we find peace? What is enough? Socrates, Epictetus, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius. They lived in a different world, yet strangely, they seem to understand ours, because while the tools have changed, human nature hasn't. We still fear loss, we still long for love, we still chase meaning, and we still struggle with the weight of our own thoughts. The words of these philosophers aren't museum pieces, they're blueprints, not abstract ideas trapped in dusty scrolls, but practical guidance for how to be human. Socrates once said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." But let's take that a step further. The unexamined wisdom is not worth having. Because knowledge alone doesn't transform it's how we apply it, how we live it. And when we do, ancient wisdom becomes something more than just words. It becomes a way of seeing. It shifts our perspective, like putting on a new lens that shows us the hidden architecture beneath everyday life. Suddenly, a failure isn't just a setback, it's a test of character. A stressful day isn't just chaos, it's a chance to practice resilience. A difficult person isn't just a nuisance, they're your training ground for patience. These philosophers didn't retreat from life, they faced it fully. They knew what it was like to feel grief, rage, doubt, ambition. They wrote not just for kings and scholars, but for people like us, ordinary people trying to make sense of it all. And their wisdom, it endures because it works. You can see it in the CEO who applies Stoic principles to lead with calm and clarity under pressure. In the modern meditator who turns inward to find peace in a chaotic world. In the writer, the parent, the student who learns like Marcus Aurelius did, that our thoughts shape our reality. So how do we tap into this treasure? We start by listening, not just reading the old texts, but hearing them, letting them echo in our own lives. And then we try, we experiment. We take a line from Seneca and see how it holds up when we're stuck in traffic. We sit with Epictetus's idea of control when someone disappoints us. We ask, like Socrates did, not just what we know, but who we're becoming. Because this kind of wisdom isn't about sounding smart, it's about living well. So maybe this isn't just ancient philosophy. Maybe it's our cheat code for a deeper life, a way to pause in a noisy world and remember what actually matters. As Seneca put it, life is not about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. And maybe, just maybe, this old wisdom is how we begin. Lesson 8. Ready and at home. Your philosophical guide to finding your chill spot in a world gone wild. You ever get that feeling like no matter where you are, you're still searching for something, not a place? Really, not a new job or a new apartment or a vacation getaway. I'm talking about that deeper kind of searching, the kind that says I don't quite feel at home. Anywhere. In today's world, that feeling is more common than we care to admit. We move fast. We chase goals. We scroll endlessly. And in all that motion, it's easy to lose our anchor, that quiet sense of being at home in ourselves. I used to think home was a physical place, four walls and a roof, a favorite mug on the kitchen shelf, the smell of coffee in the morning. But the older I get, the more I realize the real home isn't out there. It's in here, in the way we talk to ourselves, in the peace we cultivate, in the values we choose to live by, especially when no one's watching. The Stoics understood this long before the chaos of our modern age. Marcus Aurelius said that the best retreat isn't in the countryside, it's in the quiet chambers of our own soul. And Seneca, always blunt and brilliant, reminded us that poverty isn't having too little, it's craving more. So I started paying attention. Where do I feel most at ease? What makes me feel whole? It wasn't the stuff I owned. It wasn't how productive I was. It was when I was aligned, when my actions matched my values, when I stopped running and started listening. That's when the shift began. I began to find home in simplicity, clearing the clutter, not just from my desk, but from my mind. I stopped needing every moment to be busy and let silence have a voice. I found peace in small things, a walk in the park, a conversation with someone who gets it, even a few minutes of mindful stillness before the day begins. Relationships became sanctuaries, not just the fun ones, but the deep ones, the ones where I could be real, messy, honest, vulnerable. There's a kind of security in that, a reminder that home is not always a place. Sometimes it's a person, sometimes it's just the feeling of being seen. And then there's this, the sacred act of returning to what matters, my values, my internal compass. Whenever the world gets loud and chaotic, I remind myself you don't need to escape. You just need to come back to yourself. That's what being ready and at home really means. It's not about withdrawing from life. It's about carrying that peace with you, wherever you go. So if you've been feeling lost lately, maybe you're not looking for a new destination. Maybe you're looking for a return to that inner space where your soul finally exhales. And when you find it, even for a moment, welcome home.